Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. Left.
You may be seated.
Please bow your heads with me. God, we thank you for this day and allowing us to gather together. We thank you for your blessings that you've given us, Lord, and please allow your anointing to fall upon us. Thank you for the brave men and women here today, Father. Lord, keep a hedge of protection over us so that we can honor you always. In your holy precious name we pray. Amen.
When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner almost 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today.
These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Our nation honors our sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. These words apply equally to many of our World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, and Gulf War veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty service members. They apply to tomorrow's veterans who are helping to maintain peace throughout the world. Today, it's our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those we need to pay. Today, we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation free and free.
When I think of America, I think of all the freedoms that I have and all every country gets to have. When I think of America, I think of all the possibilities I am given, how I can be anything I want to be when I'm older, and I can choose what I want to do in my life. When I think of America, I think of how I get to choose what I believe in, and no one can force beliefs upon me. When I think of America, I think of how I have the privilege to express myself any way I want to, whether that's through writing, what I wear, or just by talking to someone. When I think of America, I think how lucky I am to be born in a country that gives me all these opportunities to be who I aspire to be. When I begin to think about America, I think about how we are given these freedoms and why we can be so lucky. We have these freedoms and opportunities because of our veterans. Our veterans have served years and years to give us all these opportunities and share these privileges we have. They have fought and gave their lives for our rights so we can live in this country that some people wish they could be a part of. I'm so thankful to live in this country and to be able to have these opportunities that I am given. Thank you to the veterans that put their lives on hold to let our freedoms continue. Words will never be able to fully express how grateful I am to live in the United States and how grateful we all are for you. When we think of America, we all think of you.
Veterans Day is an American holiday that is observed on November 11th every year. This day is celebrated to honor the military veterans for their contributions and loyalty to our country, and it is a federal holiday as well as a state holiday for all states in the USA. On November 11th, 1918, Germany signed the armistice to end World War I. Therefore, November 11th became known as Armistice Day and is celebrated in other countries as either Armistice Day or Remembrance Day. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson announced that November 11th would be recognized as Armistice Day. Subsequently, in 1926, the Congress of the United States passed a resolution to request the President to observe Armistice Day on November 11th with U.S. flag celebrations. However, it was not until 1939 that Congress declared it as a public holiday. It was a day dedicated to world peace, and all government buildings were expected to display American flags.
In 1953, the Kansas shoe shop owner named Al King suggested that Armistice Day should be replaced by All Veterans Day. U.S. Representative Ed Reese put forward a bill to the Congress of the United States. In 1954, President Eisenhower signed the bill into law replacing Armistice Day with Veterans Day. From 1971 until 1978, Veterans Day was scheduled to be celebrated on the fourth Monday of every October. However, in 1978, it reverted back to being celebrated on November 11th each year. Veterans Day is considered a public holiday in many allied nations. For people in the United States, Veterans Day is a time to hoist the American flag to show gratitude to our veterans who are willing to sacrifice their lives for the well-being of our nation. And Veterans Day does not only signify the historical value of the 11th of November, but it also serves as a day for Americans to come together and show their deep respect and appreciation for the military veterans of our country. Military veterans have selflessly made great sacrifices to maintain peace within the United States and abroad, and they should be given the due honor for their heroic deeds.
Our first speaker this morning enlisted in the Army National Guard on December 3rd, 1999. She was discharged in 2011 and re-enlisted in 2014. Throughout her 16 years of service, she has served one tour of duty abroad. Staff Sergeant Adams served in Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2006 to 2007. She currently serves with the Alabama National Guard in the Medical Detachment in Birmingham, Alabama. It is my honor to introduce Alabama Army National Guard Staff Sergeant Dorothy Adams.
This is always emotional for me, so bear with me. First of all, let me say it's a great honor to be here and to speak to all of you young students. Just want to tell you, when I was your age, I never dreamed I'd be in this uniform. You asked me during my high school days when I joined the military. The answer was no. I graduated in May of 1999 from Winston County High School. I had a scholarship to Bevel State Community College. I attended college the summer and fall semester, and then I decided to let the scholarship go to join the military. I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted to better myself. Do I regret letting that scholarship go? No. Since then, I've been able to earn an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree, and all three have been paid for by the military. I do not have the first student loan. I served in Iraq in 2006 and 2007 with the 226 Area Support Group out of Mobile. Most people think of military, they think of fighting, which we all make the same sacrifice. We all sign the dotted line and choose to leave our families back at home to fight for our freedom. Some things that my unit did were we were the area support group for those that did go outside the fire and fight. We tried to make the base where they stayed and slept at night, where they could get sleep, to be as close to home as possible. These numbers came from an article I found this morning. It said on average 17,000 soldiers, aviators, contractors, civilian laborers have been housed by the 226 each day. During their time here, soldiers of the 226 have added 7,400 trailers so that no one on base has to live in a tent. We supervised 4 mess halls serving 24,000 meals a day. We kept over 800 diesel-powered generators going. We produced 614 million gallons of water from 3 reservoirs, 1 treatment plant, 5 wells, and 6 water treatment platforms. We also created a 4th reservoir, and that was called Lake Alabama. And we also operated a transit system of more than 110 buses, crossing an area larger than Los Angeles International Airport. So when you become a soldier, you have 7 Army values to live up to: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And the main 2 that I would like to speak on at the moment is personal courage. You face fear, danger, adversity, both physical and moral. Personal courage isn't the absence of fear, rather it's the ability to face fear aside and put fear aside and do what's necessary. And most of all, when you join any branch of the service, the selfless service, you put the welfare of the nation, the Army, your supporters before your own. Selfless service means doing what's right for the nation, the Army, your organization, your people, and putting your responsibilities before your own. Once again, I thank you for this time to speak, and in the end, if you decide to, anyone that joins the military, we all have the same mission, we all make the same sacrifices, regardless if you sign up to be front lines, we all have to work together, just like any other sports team, we have to work together to complete the mission. Once again, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today.
completion of basic training, completed training in nuclear, biological, and chemical defense, Patriot missile launcher, and military policing. Throughout his training and service, he earned numerous awards, including Distinguished Honor Graduate from AIT and runner-up for Alabama Soldier of the Year in 2003. He has served in the 142nd Signal Brigade and the 1st Battalion 203rd Air Defense Artillery Regiment. He was activated in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and deployed to Fort Benning from 2005 until 2006. He was honorably discharged with the rank of Sergeant in 2007. It is my honor to introduce Coach Slide.
Independence Day. I do not take that for granted. Last year I spoke about what Staff Sergeant Adams did. I appreciate your service and continued service on self-sacrifice. And today, I think I want to take a little bit of a different take. And I want to quote Thomas Jefferson to begin. It says, "The purpose of government is to maintain a society which secures to every member the inherent and inalienable rights of man and promotes the safety and happiness of its people. Protecting these rights from violation, therefore, is its primary obligation." I don't know that if you're a young person, you really ever get to sit down and think about the government being kind of exciting or something that's very important to you. But I want you to know that all of the freedoms and everything that we experience are only because we have a government that provides for us. Some people, I think in today's time, think that the government owes us something and that they should provide everything. I would probably disagree there, and I think our founding fathers would as well. But we do have to have a government. And according to Jefferson, the primary responsibility of the government is to protect the rights of its people. And so they created a constitution. And I know y'all are thinking, oh my goodness, that I wound up in history class. But the Constitution, y'all, is what all these soldiers here today, the airmen, seamen, everyone who's ever enlisted in the military has took an oath to defend the Constitution, which I'll read to you here in a minute. But we have these freedoms, the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, freedom of religion, the right to keep and bear arms, just to name a few that we hear about a lot. And our Constitution also provides to make provision for a standing military. From the beginning of our nation, men and women have volunteered to defend our nation and its Constitution with great cost to themselves and their families. Countless individuals have left home and safety to put themselves in harm's way so that you and I can have the freedoms we experience and, might I add, take for granted most days. I said this last year and I'll say it again today. We live in the greatest nation the world has ever known, and we experience more freedom than any other people who have ever lived. We most definitely have our issues. We see those every day. We live in a fallen world. But our soldiers who stand and answer the call each day deserve our admiration and praise. There are over 2 million citizens of the United States that are currently serving in the active or reserve components of our armed forces. There are right at 20 million veterans, or over 20 million. And these men and women serve or have served in the greatest military the world has ever known. And I want to read to you right now, for those who have ever thought about the military or have no idea what they want to do. When you stand and you raise your hand, this is what you swear to defend. And you would say, "I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God." So everybody that has served or will serve makes that oath. And there's not many times in your life when you get to make an oath. That is one of them that's very serious. It's very binding. But it's an awesome thing to be able to stand and say, knowing that you will defend it. And the core values and warrior mentality of those who serve allow you all to experience the freedoms guaranteed by our Constitution. So to put it negatively, without their service and sacrifice, the freedoms we enjoyed would be eroded or eradicated altogether. And with the time I have remaining, what I would like to do is talk about some ordinary people who did extraordinary things. I'm going to read you the citations of 2 Medal of Honor winners. If you don't understand about the Medal of Honor, it's the highest award for valor in action against an enemy force which can be bestowed upon an individual served in the armed services of the United States. And only 3,500 recipients of the military have ever received this. The first is about Staff Sergeant Travis Atkins. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Staff Sergeant Travis W. Atkins distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty on the 1st of June 2007, while serving in the position of squad leader with Company D, 2nd Battalion, 14th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. While manning a static observation point in the town of Abu Samak, Iraq, Staff Sergeant Atkins was notified that 4 suspicious individuals walking in 2 pairs were crossing an intersection not far from his position. Staff Sergeant Atkins immediately moved his squad to interdict the individuals. One of the individuals began behaving erratically, prompting Staff Sergeant Atkins to disembark from his patrol vehicle and approach to conduct a search. Both individuals responded belligerently towards Staff Sergeant Atkins, who then engaged the individual he had intended to search in hand-to-hand combat. Staff Sergeant Atkins tried to wrestle the insurgent's arms behind his back. When he noticed the insurgent was reaching for something under his clothes, Staff Sergeant Atkins immediately wrapped him in a bear hug and threw him to the ground, away from his fellow soldiers. Staff Sergeant Atkins maintained his hold on the insurgent, placing his body on top of him, further sheltering his patrol. With Staff Sergeant Atkins on top of him, the insurgent detonated a bomb strapped to his body, killing Staff Sergeant Atkins. Staff Sergeant Atkins acted with complete disregard for his own safety. In this critical and selfless act of valor, Staff Sergeant Atkins saved the lives of the 3 other soldiers who were there with him and gallantly gave his life for his country. Staff Sergeant Atkins' undaunted courage, warrior spirit, and steadfast devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, and the United States Army. Next, Corporal Dakota Meyer maintained security at a patrol rally point while other members of his team moved on foot with 2 platoons of Afghan National Army and Border Police into the village of Ganjal for a pre-dawn meeting with village elders. Moving into the village, the patrol was ambushed by more than 50 enemy fighters, firing rocket-propelled grenades, mortars, and machine guns from houses and fortified positions on the slopes above. Hearing over the radio that 4 U.S. team members were cut off, Corporal Meyer seized the initiative. With a fellow Marine driving, Corporal Meyer took the exposed gunner's position in a gun truck as they drove down the steeply terraced terrain in a daring attempt to disrupt the enemy attack and locate the trapped U.S. team. Disregarding intense enemy fire now concentrated on their lone vehicle, Corporal Meyer killed a number of enemy fighters with the mounted machine guns in his rifle, some at near point-blank range, as he and his driver made 3 solo trips into the ambush area. During the first 2 trips, he and his driver evacuated 24 Afghan soldiers, many of whom were wounded. When one machine gun became inoperable, he directed a return to the rally point to switch to another gun truck for a 3rd trip into the ambush area, where his accurate fire directly supported the remaining U.S. personnel and Afghan soldiers fighting their way out of the ambush. Despite a shrapnel wound to his arm, Corporal Meyer made 2 more trips into the ambush area in a 3rd gun truck, accompanied by 4 other Afghan vehicles, to recover more wounded Afghan soldiers and search for the missing U.S. team members. Still under heavy fire, he dismounted the vehicle on the 5th trip and moved on foot to locate and recover the bodies of his team members. Corporal Meyer's daring initiative and bold fighting spirit throughout the 6-hour battle significantly disrupted the enemy's attack and inspired the members of the combined force to fight on. His unwavering courage and steadfast devotion to his U.S. and Afghan comrades in the face of almost certain death reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. These are just 2 stories that really happened. These are real people with real families who, with complete disregard for themselves, put their lives on the line, one giving his life, and the other suffering tragic injuries. But I just want to tell you, I guess, as I end here, that these were ordinary people. I'm sure that they went to high school at a place kind of like this, and they had a desire to serve their country, and they were placed into a moment in time where they were called to do something extraordinary, and they did that. She's already read them today, but I have them here: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. Those are also the core values that I learned in the U.S. Army. They've impacted my life greatly, and I'm thankful for those experiences that helped shape who I am today. But many of you possess those qualities as well, and you're looking for a way to live them out. The U.S. military gives you an opportunity. I don't know that that's in your future. Many of you don't know right now either. So I just pray that you all enjoy life and liberty as you live in the United States of America. But don't forget to say thank you to those who allowed you to do so. Thank you, and God bless you.
Each branch of the United States Armed Forces maintains its own marching band to inspire troops and preserve tradition. Although Armed Forces bands were once in armed conflicts, they now serve ceremonial functions and inspire troops through songs that represent the individual histories and tradition of America's armed forces.
In 1938, the Army Air Corps decided it needed an official song. Liberty Magazine sponsored a contest whereby 757 scores were submitted. Of those, one written by Robert Crawford was selected by a committee of Air Corps wives. Since that time, the first line of "Nothing Will Stop the U.S. Air Force" became a motto and tradition.
Before the Caisson song was adopted as the official tune of the U.S. Army, it was the proud anthem of the U.S. Field Artillery Corps. During the Long March in the Philippines, Lieutenant Edmund L. Gruber overheard an officer roar, "Come on!" An officer roared, "Come on, keep 'em rolling." Gruber, whose relative Franz composed the Christmas song Silent Night, was suddenly inspired and that night wrote the now famous melody. In 1956, H.W. Arbor arranged the U.S. Army song, naming it "The Army Goes Rolling On."
The Coast Guard's motto of Semper Paratus, or always ready, was officially recognized in 1910. In 1922, Captain Francis S. von Bursgard was inspired to write an official U.S. Coast Guard song, and the lyrics for Semper Paratus were born, and he composed the melody 5 years later. From Aztec shore to Arctic zone, to Europe and Far East, Semper Paratus remains the proud standard and song of the United States Coast Guard.
Most believe the melody of the Marines' hymn was, in fact, taken from an aria in Genevieve de Brabant, composed by Offenbach. According to tradition, an officer wrote the first verse of the hymn on duty in the Mexican War. Meant to highlight the various campaigns of the Marines, the unknown author edited the words from the Marines' colors and added them to Offenbach's melody. Offenbach's tune was morphed to fit the now famous lines "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli."
Anchors Away was composed as a football fight song for the United States Naval Academy's football team in 1907. In an attempt to write a catchy tune to rally the Naval Academy's football team, Anchors Away was born. The new fight song indeed propelled the Naval Academy's midshipmen to a win that year over Army. The march was subsequently adopted as the official Navy song and continues to inspire classes of Naval Academy midshipmen.
The Good Hope Greater Band will now play a medley of service anthems. We ask veterans and servicemen and women to stand when the anthem for your branch is played.
sign of respect for those who gave their lives for this country. Please stand and remove your hat for a moment of silence and remain standing for task.
You may be seated.
Thank you all for your attendance and attention. Once again, we thank our veterans for their selfless service and our guests for attending. At this time, we ask students to remain seated and allow our guests to dismiss to the reception in the data room. I'll turn